I am here live with my good friend and consultant, Lee Adkins with Amplified Solutions, and we're going to go over the efficiency tools for real estate agents. And to give a little bit of background, I have been working with Lee for several years. He's a consultant of mine. He helps top team leaders and brokers basically organize their business in more of a structural mode. Well, you could explain it, Lee.
Yeah, so really focus on the operations. I like to say all the things that aren't selling real estate, running a company. And that's all things from just being organized in your email to recruiting strategy and 10-year, growth strategy and exit plan. So it's all the little things and all the big things, really.
Yeah, and he helped write some of our policies and handbooks and stuff like that. But what we have him on today is talk about some of the efficiency tools that agents can use.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm excited to dig into this because I think a lot of times agents, I don't know if they overthink it or if they think it's more complicated or whatnot, but the goal is to, if you can keep it simple enough that you can explain it, you can train for it, or you can remember it, then it's going to be a lot easier to execute than having this crazy fancy thing with a bunch of zaps that does a bunch of crazy things. So, and, I think it's also really easy to just sign up for $19.99 and $29.99 things in this business versus just having a strategy to use the tools that you have. And I think if you're good with it, maybe we'll start with some Google tools and some G Suite type stuff.
Yeah, sounds good. And just to kind of, give anybody who's watching this, I am the most unorganized, messy person in the world. And a lot of these techniques that I've used digitally, I've become very organized. So I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We've definitely had some good conversations about some of these and just using the tools that you have. So G Suite is effectively the paid version of Google. It allows you to use your own domain. So if somebody's not familiar, it just allows you to say, you're at Spyglass Realty instead of at gmail.com. Essentially, most of the things we'll talk about also apply to a free Gmail account. But what I'm going to focus on is more specifically kind of that paid, myname.com G Suite account. So, one of the most basic things obviously about that is email. And I think, in this business, especially really prioritizing and sorting your email, it seems like a small thing, but really being focused on making sure important emails hit you quickly. And all the other emails, that are in your inbox or like coupons or webinars or whatever, maybe just aren't on your radar immediately. Maybe you see them later. So one quick tool I want to throw out for that, going a little bit out of order here, is a tool called Unroll.me. And it is a free service that you sign up for and connect it to your Google account. And it basically learns your promotional and other emails. You have to teach it a little bit. It's a little tiny bit of setup, but it'll basically pull all those emails out of your inbox and send you a digest of all those emails. So you're not getting, hey, check out this webinar. Hey, check out this webinar. Hey, check out this webinar. You can just look at them all at once at some point during the day. So Google also introduced what they call tabs, which are the social promotions updates. And if you turn those on, Google also learns very quickly how to filter some of those out. So that's another great tip for just prioritizing and filtering, messages that are maybe important but not urgent. So one of the other things too about Gmail, specifically, that it kills me that a lot of people don't realize, your ability to search in Google Mail, G Suite or Gmail is unbelievable. You can search for certain keywords. You can search for has an attachment. You can search by size of attachment. It's
date range.
Yeah, it's unbelievable what you can do. And something that a lot of people don't realize, an easy trick, is in the search bar in your mail, there's a little drop down caret, a little like V. If you click that, it actually drops down a bunch of options you can just click. And so to me, it blows my mind when people are like, hey, can you send me that email again? I'm like, you can't just search, has attachment,
I do that to Kelly all the time.
We won't tell her though. We'll cut this part out. So, anyway, just being more effective with organizing your email in that sense. And We have some videos too we're going to share out with everybody in the show notes on how to do some of these things. We're not going to try to abstractly tell you how to do these, but we have resources.
Now, do you have yours in tabs on Gmail where there's, a primary, social, and promotions?
I do a little bit. So I've actually gotten rid of social because I just turned off all those notifications. I don't need an email and a badge and a lock screen. Like that's too much.
Yeah.
So I actually got rid of social just because I no longer use it. But yeah, I have social promotions and updates.
Mm-hmm.
One thing a lot of people also don't realize is you can teach Google, you can drag an email to the updates tag or tab, and Google will ask you, do you want to sort all emails from this sender to this tab? So you can actually teach it to filter.
So when you say the updates tab, what is that?
So there's primary, social, promotions, updates, and I think forums. So one of the tabs is just updates.
Got you. And while I'm going to do a little tip that I've been give a little tip that I've been using a lot lately too, in the sense that so I get tons of emails. I try to filter it out, try to do an unroll to me, but quite frankly, even my primary email, excluding social media and promotions, I'm probably getting 200 plus a day, right? A lot of those are stuff I'm constantly unsubscribing. However, what I'm doing to kind of make sure, things like text messages and emails we get missed on. I am now religiously using Follow Up Boss as our CRM and getting the inbox in there. I'm checking it 3 times a day because those emails are only going to come from the people that are in your CRM, which if you're doing business with anyone, they should be in your CRM.
Yeah, that's a great tip. And that actually is probably the best resolution to focusing on the most important email is people, because like you said, it only pulls in emails from the people in your database. So you're not getting all the other garbage emails and subscription emails.
Talk a little bit about your calendar tips. I love how you got this organized.
Yeah, for sure. So calendar is really, as you mentioned, I work with a lot of, teams and brokerages at a very high level, and just there's no way I could do what I do without being really well time managed and time blocked. That said, there's definitely a method to that madness. So one of the main things I do is use the color coding in Google Calendars. When you create a new event, if you have never noticed it, there's a little drop down for different colors. Mm-hmm. And I've just established some of those colors as specific things. For example, I use red if I need to physically be somewhere, because that means, well, at least in the old days, I have to take a shower. I have to allow for some drive time. It's a whole different deal than hopping on a Zoom call. If I have to get dressed and get down to the board or get to a meeting or a speaking thing. So, and then, I use actually purple for personal stuff. So if there's stuff that's either overtly personal or just things, and sometimes some of those calendars are shared, so it helps to know.
Yeah, like getting a haircut or going to therapy or something like that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
all very important things, but which I recommend. But no, totally, just having a little bit of a color coding, and ultimately mine's pretty intense now. Yeah. But I started just doing the red, so it's like note to self, must be something.
And I started doing that too. Very recently, I saw you when you came to Austin like a year ago. I saw that, and I started saying, I think the default color is blue, right? And it kind of just, you get lost in what's important. So if I have basically my agent appointments are banana, and then personal appointments are I think red, and then everything else is blue. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I think sometimes people see mine and they go, "Oh my goodness, that's crazy." You don't start with that. You start with one, and then you tack them on. For example, we also have like a company shared calendar that I use orange for. So when I see it, I know maybe it's not me. Maybe it's something somebody else at the company's doing. But it goes back to that kind of Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs was the original. If you wear a black turtleneck and jeans every day, you don't have decision overload. You're not thinking about it. You just look at it and you know what to do.
What about groups? Are you setting up groups?
Like email groups?
Yeah.
Or, you know what? Not really. I've toyed around with it.
So we did a little bit, and the reason why is because right now we have 33 people on our brokerage, and it's overwhelming. And especially when we're trying to have like a all hands meeting. We had one last week, and I was not invited to it, and I double scheduled it. So we had Kelly put together one that says everyone at spyglassrealty.com. And the great thing about that is you can schedule a appointment, calendar appointment to everyone at Spyglass Realty, and they're all invited. No one's going to miss it. And then we also have one for, sales and for me and Sunny. And then we have another one for managed for me, Sunny, and Johnny.
That's a great idea though. Cause you're right. Instead of having to remember to add everybody every time.
Yeah.
And I have a video on something similar to that, which is called default routing. And I'll make sure that gets added to the show notes, but it's a similar thing in that if you need a team at email, it's an easy way to set that up where it goes to all the right people and you're just sending to team at.
Yeah. Okay.
Keep it simple. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. That's a great tip. I didn't know it worked with calendar like that. So if you calendar invite that, it'll invite everybody.
Yeah, we tested it last week because I wanted to make sure that wasn't going to happen again. The other thing is Calendly. You're using Calendly.
Yeah, so Calendly, for those who don't know, is basically there's a free version of it, but it's totally worth paying the $16 a month or whatever it is now. It integrates with your calendar and shows when you are available or not available. Yeah. You also have control over it. So you can say, I only do buyer consultations Tuesdays and Thursdays afternoon. So you can set that up, but then when you send the link to somebody, they can just pick when they're available. The problem I have is that by the time I email somebody that like, hey, I can do 2 o'clock tomorrow, and they get back to me, I've already booked the 2 o'clock tomorrow with somebody else.
Yeah, same thing. And I got an email from a broker that I was talking to, and I basically just ripped this off. They had on their signature Zoom with me, and then that goes to the Calendly appointment. And I do the same thing. So like if I meet with agents, and I'm interviewing a lot of agents, they can, and I just started doing this, but they can basically, pick the time. I always keep it, make sure that we have 30 minutes in between times. You can set that up in Calendly.
Yeah, no, that's a great tip. I'm glad you mentioned that too. You can set how many per day you want to have. Yeah. You can set lead time if it's a driving to event. It's funny. There's some argument that it's kind of impersonal, that you're just like, hey, do this link. But yeah, you know what? The world is changing. I think people are learning to, it's just
they are. I'll have to tell you, I just started doing Calendly, and I'm never sending anybody to my Calendly link, but because of that reason, when people say, oh, hey, I just did my Calendly link, it kind of feels impersonal. But like you say, the world's changing. People are wanting to be more efficient. They want to be able to pick their time. So I went ahead and
And two quick pro tips with that. Number one, like everything, it's all in the semantics, right? I always say, when I send the link out, I always say, grab a time that works for both of us. Not like, hey, you figure out when I'm available. If you say
have your people call my people,
Right. Exactly. And then the other tip is that, well, I guess 1.5, it does integrate with Zoom. So it can generate that Zoom meeting when they book. In fact, I recently switched, they just added this, where in the same event, you can select Zoom or phone call. And so if they select Zoom, it generates a Zoom link. If they select phone call, it asks them what their phone number is.
Right.
So, and then the half of that is that it does Zapier integrate with Follow Up Boss. So when people grab a call with me, it also puts them in Follow Up Boss. So if I need to follow up or whatnot, it puts them in there.
I did not know that. That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah. It's a real good, simple.
Speaking of Zoom, you were going to go talking about Zoom and Zoom alternatives, right?
Yeah. So high level, Zoom is obviously a video conferencing platform. It can also do webinars. I think we're in the new, I don't want to say new normal. That's supposed to be the buzzword you're not supposed to use. But, I think platforms like Zoom and Microsoft Teams and Google Hangouts or Google Meet, I guess it is now, those are going to be how we're going to do business, I think, for a little while. And quite frankly, it's funny to hear realtors complain about it, because wouldn't you rather do a face-to-face buyer consult with somebody instead of meeting them in a home that's on the other side of town, only to find out that they don't like it or they have another agent or
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah.
Like, why are we not, we should have been doing this 10 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. We didn't do it because of routine and practice, right?
Right.
I've been doing it with investors for some time because I'm very picky with investors, and a lot of them are fickle, and let them know, let's meet. I'll do, show them what I want to look at online, and then actually send them the buyer rep agreement, and also let them know this is the way it's going to work.
Right.
If you see a property that you like, you're going to email me that property. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to tell you, no way, don't buy it. Right. Then if I like it, I'm going to go to the property within hours and then say, okay, let's meet at this time tomorrow, whatever,
Right. Right. Exactly. I mean, I think there's never been a better time to really reassess the tools that you're using, the way that you're doing business, and, nothing, you should be saying yes more than no. You should be exploring all these new things, within reason. So yeah, I think I listed, those are at least the alternatives that I'm familiar with. I'm sure there's 20 more, and there will be even more. One other good video tip though is using a platform like Loom, Loom, or I use that and a software called Camtasia. Camtasia is paid. I think it's about,
I think it's $300 a year.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Well, now they have a recurring like maintenance model, like $50 a year.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I thought Camtasia was a video editing software, though.
It's more editing, but you can record your screen or you.
Okay.
So you can generate the footage and edit it.
Yeah.
But my focus is on editing it. So perfect example, if I do a webinar or a session like this, I record it in Zoom, drop it into Camtasia, then I can add like an opening slide. I can cut out if I say anything stupid or look stupid or whatever, so focus more on editing, but it can shoot as well.
And so the Loom is mostly free, right?
Yeah, Loom is free until you really use it at a high level, and then it's $60 a year. But Loom is predominantly, I think, designed for screen capture. Yeah. It also puts your head in a little bubble if you want it to at the bottom, so people can still get to know you, but you can demonstrate something. One thing I love about Loom that people may not know too is that you can actually organize your videos in folders. And so I've started getting, because I do a lot of them and they're like 2 minutes. It's like, here's how you do this. So keeping it better organized has been good for me. And then the other thing is, if you want, it will notify you when the video is watched.
Yeah. So, and then here's another thing that's really efficient that I use all the time, but it takes a little bit of setup, right? And if you're a Mac user, what is that? Is it a Quicktime Player?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So for screen record, the problem with it is on a default level, when it comes to you, like I had it on my last computer. I just got a new MacBook Pro. It will not record the audio on a screen, on a screen recording. So the workaround on that, I did it on my last one, I had to look it up, is you download a program for free. It's called Sunflower. And then you'll have to go into your setting. Soundflower. There you go. Yeah. And I use it all the time because, like, if an agent, one of my agents, we have 32 agents, if one of my agents asks me something that they need to know, we're using another efficiency tool, Workplace by Facebook. Yep. Okay. So if I see something that's going to happen, that's going to be a recurring question, rather than, do a meeting with them and showing them, I'll do a screen recording, and then I will put that into Workplace. And I put Workplace is the Facebook version, is the enterprise version of Facebook. It's your own personal or professional Facebook without your asshole friends and political comments and, all the advertisements, right? So I put a description, very detailed description in there, so it's searchable. And then I put tags on it. Yeah.
That's brilliant. I think, that was where I was headed with both Loom and Camtasia, just the idea of creating this on-demand training type of thing where people can easily find it. And you can house it unlisted on YouTube. You can do Workplace. Yeah. We use an intranet platform where we host all that. One quick tip I learned yesterday, if you're using a regular Facebook group, like not Workplace, but in Facebook, they recently added, or I just saw it for the first time, they've added now what are called units. And you can actually go in and create almost like chapters for various things. And it's a great way to organize if you're using regular Facebook group.
And I think that's great. My issue with it is that I want to be off of Facebook for hours at a time. You know?
Totally agree.
What I love about Workplace is I can have that on in the background all the time. I'm only going to have notifications coming from the people in my organization.
Yeah.
It's very searchable. There's zero distractions.
Yeah. No, Workplace is kind of best of both worlds because people know the platform. They know how to post. They know how to add a picture. They know how to use it. But all that distraction of the other stuff, we'll leave it at that, is there. So I think, looking at my notes super quick, I think the only other big thing I wanted to really touch on, and then happy to talk about anything else relevant, is just CRM specifically. I think, we're truly at a time, I've probably said this for 10 years, but I think we're truly at a time where you're just not even like serious in the business if you don't have a CRM. You've got to organize leads, past clients, in our case, agents, other companies, other people you work with. There's just no other way to do it. And I don't care if it's the most simple CRM. I don't care if your CRM is a piece of paper or an Excel spreadsheet, but like, there's got to be a way.
It's got to be something.
Got to have it. So, and the real magic in that, I think, is, I said this for a while back. I think I'm going to bring it back. Like, segment is the new blast. It used to be like you just hit your whole database with like great fun things to do in Austin, or look at this great new listing I got. And now everybody's doing that. So you can't do that anymore. Now you need to say, hey, past client, I've got this great tool that'll help you keep an eye on your home value. Hey, lead that came in yesterday, can I send you over some more properties? Like, you've got to be sending smart messaging out to the right groups. And the best way to do that is to have a CRM and to use it well, at least a segment,
Yeah. And I want to kind of elaborate on that just a second. And because, I go through in my organization, we coach agents all the time. We do probably spend about 3 to 4 hours a week in coaching agents. And the number one thing a piece of advice that I have agents, that I give to agents, I'll give you an example. I talked to an agent last week and she's kind of, feeling frustrated, and I went to her CRM, went to her contact list. She's been doing it for like 5 years. She had 135 people in there. Okay. Yeah. And I cannot tell you how many times I tell people this, 135 people, that's what you have in there when you first start doing real estate. Okay. If you've been doing real estate for 2 years, it should be minimum, probably 1,000 people, right? Yeah. If you've been doing it for 7 years, it should be, 5,000 people.
Yeah.
You're continually adding to that list, and you really have to think about the people that you want to add. And the way I coach this all the time is you put the proverbial sticky note on your computer, or the actual sticky note on your computer, that says add contacts, people that know you, like you, trust you, and won't hit the spam button.
Yep. No, absolutely. I mean, you can do that so many different ways. Do it when you're scrolling Facebook and you just see people. Think about family members. Obviously, if you have none of this, get your past clients in there. Start with that. And if you've been in the business for 5 years, I hope you have at least 100 or so past clients, strong prospects.
Right. Go to your MLS and look at the 1,000. If you've been doing it for 5 years, you probably have 400 searches set up. Put them in there.
Right. Exactly. So no, that's the key. But that's where the segmentation comes back in too, I think, because you have to be adding to it, but you also have to have it organized in a way that this messaging can be smarter,
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a big one. And then I think also using things like Facebook or birthdays or whatever to just keep that updated. There's no better time. Be careful with the message. I've been recruited by people on my birthday, which is not cool. They're like, hey, how are you? And I'm like, I'm great. Thanks for wishing me happy birthday. And they're like, I have a business opportunity for you. And I'm like, it was nice until then. Yeah. But, I think just using a touch point like that, or just them posting, hey, our kid won the science fair or whatever, could just be hey, great to hear an email. Don't do this publicly in the comments, or a text or whatever. Just check in and then be like, is this still the best number for you? Or is this still your best email? Or do you have a personal email? Or just,
absolutely.
It's not hard. The problem is, it's what I always say with things. It's simple, but hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to break it down and be that simple and just do the work.
The hard part is developing the habits to do it. And
Yeah.
that's why, I coach my agents in that, like, I had one today. I said, look, I want you to call and text 7 people a day. She's
Yeah.
busy. She's distracted.
Yeah.
She's a little bit frustrated, which we all get there, right? We all get there. And so I said that if you do this for 3 weeks, I promise you something in your business is going to change.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, there's no question. And that tees up, the next thing I was thinking of, which is, having some sort of basic reporting or something along the lines of just, the problem with our business is what you do today is not going to make you money for probably 90 days at least. Best, you know? So you've got to put in the work now, knowing that 60, 90, 180, 365 days is when you're going to get the check. So, and you've got to log that so you can start to see patterns in that, oh, my Zillow leads take 6 emails and 4 phone calls and 2 texts before they convert. While my other, while your sphere, maybe just takes 1 email because you know them already. So, and that can be as simple as like a follow-up boss, like reporting. I recommend, a platform called Transactify that you're familiar with for sure. Is, just even deeper reporting on like, where is my money coming from? What should I lean into, whether that's spending or just making calls?
Yeah, and that's organizational from the standpoint of not just your measurement, but Tim B, he's one of our agents, and he's a rock star agent. And I talked to him. He came in the office last week, and he had 9 properties under contract. And I'm like, man, are you using a transaction manager? He's like, no, I'm using Transactify because it's easier. He came from a place where they use Salesforce, and it was like super duper complicated. And with Transactify, he had all the little tasks there and knocked them out. It goes in every day, 1, 2, 3, 4, just, every task there is. So
yeah, that's the key. I mean, I think sometimes I do this to a fault, but I think just prioritizing things when they come in and deciding like, does that need to go on a list, or can I just do it? Or is there a tool or a person I can leverage to better do that? Even in Follow Boss, there's tasks, there are things you can do, deals. We even use deals internally for our company, and our clients are agents and teams, but we use deals to say, hey, I sent a proposal. Was that proposal accepted, or was it not accepted? Like where
in Follow Boss?
Yeah.
I haven't got into that yet.
Yeah. So it's pretty great. I mean, Transactify, I think, takes the place of that probably for you. But for me, all I need is like, I sent somebody a proposal. Don't forget to follow up. And then was it good or bad? What was the end result? Or did they say, follow up with me in 3 months? Like, that's gold. I think some people are running around thinking they should be doing all this stuff. We don't have a CRM because we want to have a CRM or another piece of software. We have a CRM so we can have more and better conversations.
Correct. Yeah. Absolutely.
So got to leverage it to do that. So I don't know if you had anything else specific to cover. I'm happy to nerd out on organizational stuff, but
no, I mean, I think that's pretty much it. I want to kind of recap here because, you've got your tabs in Gmail, which I think are very effective, right? Your search bar, where I need to start using that more instead of asking Kelly. I get so many emails from Kelly. It's like, it's different than asking somebody else for it, because there's so many emails I get from her that she's just easier just for her to send it, or it's easier for me to ask her to send it. But like, the color coding of the calendar is huge. I think agents can really adopt that and really help them with their business. What else did we go over? Using
Calendly.
Zoom, Calendly is big. And then, the most important thing in the lifeblood of a business for a real estate agent really is the CRM. And I can't say it enough, right? If you're, I always say, show me your CRM and I'll show you your next 12 months of income.
Right. Absolutely. Right. It's like your 5, friends, like look at your 5 closest friends and their income is your income or whatever that.
Yeah. You are the average of the 5 people you hang around the most. And, I think that if you're a real estate agent that's struggling, the main thing is first of all, get more organized through these tools and spend more time in your CRM. And I think, you and I have talked about this a lot of time, right? I mean, that's the main point of all this is being organized. And these are some really good tips. And thank you for being on. Kelly will be putting links to your playlist. If you're watching this, Lee has 2 to 5 minute videos on how to set up everything with G Suite. He made a playlist. We're going to put it in here, and we'll put your information to your website too. If you're need any help with your organization and putting stuff together for me, Lee did a lot with our handbook, structuring the duties for each person. So I really appreciate all the work you put into our company.
Yeah, man. Thank you. It's been a blast, and thanks for having me on.